I mean, do you want me to play a bit of the track just because?
Yeah, mate. I honestly, I was blown away. I just love it. Like it's, just to have one of my songs picked and someone remix it, that in itself was
Yeah.
just awesome. But when it came out as singing just sounds so awesome, I just loved it.
So you bring the mastering down a bit. Is that affecting the volume? It's not.
That's all right.
Okay, you can hear over the top. It's not clipping
Yeah.
or anything, right?
Nah,
It
it's
might be a
good.
bit. So you can hear, like, basically, I've got your thunder and rain running right the way through.
Yep.
So generally, I have an intro, a build up, and then I go to a little first drop, which
Yep.
introduces most of the elements, and then essentially what I do is I then transition where I introduce some of these elements in the second drop. I introduce those
Yep.
subtly here, and then that's when the main lead variety comes in. You can hear that I've got that main
Mm.
uh, theme of your lead, and a lot of
Yeah.
the main elements are similar. I'll take I have both the track colours that have drums on a bunch of main elements.
Yep.
Take the main out and decide to go to main melody vocals. I've created a little bit of vocal from the main vocal, and then I
Yep.
have a supporting element.
I love this bit. This build is awesome.
Yeah. That's
It's
kind of
cool.
the individual kind of come out and
Oh, mate, it just sounds awesome.
okay, all right. So that was the main build and drop, and then it sort of
Yep.
it basically transitions down into a nice little outro. So where do you want to go first?
Mate, let's start at the top and just work our way through.
So I think I tell you what. Let me
Well,
let me
you go. You
start with
whichever,
yeah. I think
wherever you want.
let's start with let's just go through the backing and the rain, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um so so what I basically have here is what I've done is I've taken like a favorite shaker loop from a splice pack. I don't mind
Yep.
saying it.
Okay.
Splice is awesome for this sort of stuff.
Oh,
I've
it is.
taken a
I use it for
shaker
everything.
loop, and what
Yep.
I've got is you might recognise your original
Yep.
Remember Rain Thunder. So
Yep.
if I solo that, so you can see that what I've done with that is I've essentially compressed it.
Yep.
Um, and actually, what I've done is I haven't. Yeah, I thought what I did was I side chained in the movement of the shaker, but
Right.
actually, what I've got is a very subtle, very subtle. I use a Kickstart plugin. This one's really good
Yeah, I
for
saw
side
those. So,
chaining.
so that's how you am with the Echo. I tried opening up the project and the Kickstarter. I was like, oh, I don't know what Kickstart
So
is.
this is
But
yeah. So this is basically if I stop it, this basically you'll notice I don't have a side chaining channel.
right.
So I use sidechain plugins, and Nicky Moreira's Kickstart is quite a good one. What it
Yep.
allows, but you have to automate it on and off. But what it does is basically allow you to control the shape and the mix of the kick of the
Right.
pumping. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I can't see anything here. All I'm seeing is your black square of when you
uh,
open it up. So I can still
uh,
see Ableton.
I
But
see.
yeah,
I have
don't
to
look.
share. I have to share all my plugins by the looks of things.
Yeah.
Um,
Doesn't
okay,
matter.
but
That's
yeah,
all right.
let's. So basically, I use a sidechain compression plugin that basically ducks the atmosphere with the kick,
Yep.
and
Great.
does it. And you have to basically switch it on or off. It doesn't
Yep.
trigger by the kick. You have to switch it on or off. So those the shaker loops are basically automated out,
Yep.
and then they come in. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
that for me that creates that's always there in the background and creates like a nice little bit of percussive rhythm in the background.
Yeah. Okay. So more
Yeah.
dipping and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
getting
So
a rhythm that way. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and you kind of just compress the peaks of the thunder and the lightning, so it's a bit smoother and have it lower in the
Yep.
mix. So,
Yep.
so then really let's have a look at the drums. So what I have is a kick and bass bus. So I would have taken your main bass.
Yep.
Um, so let's listen to similar. This is a nice kick from the same pack. What I've
Yep.
done, what I've done is you probably won't see the plugin on the kick, but actually, yeah,
Yep.
what I've done is it's a common thing that I do is I take for a sort of more deeper melodic kick, I
Yep.
take some of the mid frequencies out and give the high a bit of a boost. It's not the cleanest of samples, but
Yep.
gives it that low end punch and the high
Yep.
end tick,
Yep.
which is kind of important for this genre.
Yep.
And if you see as well, what I've also done is these little periods in the track, I've overlaid a filter, which basically just for me, it just takes the kick down a bit so
Yep.
other elements can shine through, and
Yep.
when you hear it, it kind of just then the kick comes back in and it adds a little bit more of that melodic sort of driving impact. So if it makes it a bit more danceable, in my opinion, that you drop it and
Yeah.
it comes back, it sort of and it adds a bit of variety to the kick.
Awesome.
It is your main bass, but what I've
Yep.
done here, what's nice, what I did on the bass is I've just brought the first note of the bass in with some side chaining.
Yep.
So what that does is the bass then doesn't come out and out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Then it goes so that's a nice effect to transition it. And what I
Yeah. I
probably would have
like
done
that.
is what I would have done is probably add a sub layer.
Yeah.
And that's both of these are heavily side chained, and you'll find the the, the bottom layer.
Yep.
The bottom layer is you won't see the plugin, but it's super mono. And I've put an ozone
Right.
imager, but I've made it more mono, so there's no mud in the low end,
Right.
which is another thing that will often and a lot of producers will say is critical. Your bass low end sub is and
Needs
any
to be
low
mono.
frequencies are
Yeah.
total mono. But then
Yep.
separating the bass and getting some flexibility here
Yeah.
allows you to add what I will have done here on the utility channel is added a little bit of a see it, but we've had a small bass delay to give
Right.
it a little bit, but that's only to the higher frequency, so it creates more of a wider, solid bass. It doesn't mess up your low end.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Yep.
then
And you do that on the main bass, not on those sub bass.
the sub bass is pretty much EQ'd. I don't know if you
Yep.
can see the EQ on this, but I think it's yours. Yeah, it's the same bass that you use, but I would have.
Yep.
Why would I put an EQ on it? That's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe I did it in the bus, but yeah. So that's oh, actually no. This is my production file, so I will have mixed it in a separate mixing template, which we might not get
Right.
time to go through. But this
Yep.
is the production file, so I will have done a lot of final mixing
Gotcha.
in there.
Yep.
Okay, so that's bass. So let's listen to so the kick and bass are on a bus.
Yep.
Then they should. Oh no, okay. In the mix template, I will create a drums bus as well. So this is again, this
Yep.
is just production. So let's have a listen to the snare. So I think I introduced. I didn't use loops. I I tend to introduce my own elements and some loops. So
Yep.
this is a nice snare that I took from Splice, I think it is again. And
Yep.
what I've done is I've kind of on this one I've taken out some of the sustain and release. Sometimes snares can be a bit
Yep.
big, and I like to use them for the main reverb and setting the room of the drums. But I've taken some of the transition out because I wanted it to be a bit snappy for
Yep.
this genre, which is something that I learned from looking at things like tutorials from like Marsh and Enamor. They do that. They create a. It's not a big trancey. Psh, it's a more
Yeah.
ticky snare, which I really
Gotcha.
liked. Um,
Yep.
so I have like so I've built up all the layers,
Yep.
uh, and I have some bongos that come in. I do have a drum loop. If I go to the main drop section, so I've got some.
Yep.
The snare will have set the kind of the level of the
Yep.
reverb, but generally I've got other drum loops and percussions coming in the second drop to give it a little bit more
Yeah. Groove.
groove, and that's quite important. You see a lot of those aren't in the early section,
Yep.
but if we go to the intro, there'll probably be one here that's like just a really occasional small
Tom.
subtle element, yeah,
Yep.
just to give it, and you'll hit when the track's playing, it just gives a little bit of interest.
Yep.
So let's go through the main thing. I think you didn't have a main piano element,
No.
so I added this, which for me creates a really melodic vibe,
Yep.
and say exactly the same chord structure, but
Okay.
I wanted to have like just something a little bit more in the mid low
Yep.
to give it a bit of body, and I just love this piano. It's pretty simple. I don't know what the piano is. It's yeah.
I've been
I use
looking at.
complete.
Yeah, I've been looking at that, getting the complete stuff.
So I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Probably not. But it's actually
No.
I don't have the most expensive. I have this is the Gentleman, which
Right.
is the base. If you go for one of the mid or low bass complete setups, if you like, you
Yep.
get some lovely instruments, and the pianos are quite nice. So I use the
Okay.
Gentleman. Um, and then let's have a look. Oh, sorry about that.
That's
So
right.
then your main chords are, I've literally kept the chords the same.
Yep.
I have, what have I done here? The hypersaw, this one we'll go through in a bit, but
Yep.
generally I think elements wise, centipede serum you used. I think you used the hypersaw, which I
Yep.
kept, but you can see the hypersaw, I've done a lot with it.
Yeah.
And the main lead is Marina, which you had.
Yep.
And then I've added this one lead, which I call lead vibe, which is from a Serum preset pack. Evolution of Sounds, really good production engineer, does some good packs, and
Right.
that what that does, that brings a lot of variety on top. That adds a little bit of brightness, and I'll take you through that. But very quickly,
Yep.
so your main chords are playing. Let's go to the main. Let's go to the transition. Let's say. So that's basically a sort of pad layer, which I've got panning
Yep.
and a little bit of kickstart. So it's the same sort of kickstart compression that sits with
Yep.
the background. Let's go transition again.
Yeah. This one. How you made it so wide, and so there's a wider thing.
Yeah. So basically, he has a lot on here. So have I got the
Yeah.
wider? Yeah. So basically, wider is like the Ozone plugin.
Imager.
It basically,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's a free plugin.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I'm gonna have
yeah,
to get it.
it,
It's
it's
awesome.
called. Oh, it's called Polyverse Infected Mushroom Wider, and if
All
you can
right.
see it, it is like it does what it says on the screen, right? It
Yeah.
has literally a picture where you can just choose a percentage of how wide you make the sound, and that
Yeah.
one
Oh, mate.
it just
That.
has a bit of width,
Yep.
but actually a lot of, I mean, it does a subtle difference, but a lot of that lead, sorry, a lot of that saw is essentially your main. So I've got frequency automation.
Yep. And then you've also got the gain
Okay,
coming out.
yeah, I've got also uh, filter on the frequencies, like I said. What else have I got?
Yep.
And a lot of reverb coming in, and I take it out.
Yep. Gotcha.
And then actually at a mix down, that's cut out, so it's
Yep.
quiet. Um, but what that is it's basically wider, compressed, a bit warmer,
Yep.
Ableton out of the box,
Yep.
EQ'd bit, some compression, and then I don't think
Side.
I have side. I don't have any side chain on it. It's just compression,
Right.
and I then there's a filter, and then again
Yep.
it's kick started. That pumping is the kick
Yep.
start. I'll just sort of quickly tell you it was. Yeah, I've got 60% of a very like subtle, just letting the kick come through,
Yep.
and
No, that
then
sounds awesome. I just
and,
loved it.
yeah, and then I think the bit that when I did it, I didn't have. I just was listening to a track, and I thought I need to do something with that saw in the second half of the track to give it a bit of
Yep.
difference and variety. So then, what I effectively have done is, you can see, I've just chopped up the MIDI
Yep.
so that is it like a something like a lot
A
of
bit
more
of
people.
phrasing.
Yeah, it basically chopped it out, and
Yep.
it sort of gives it a little bit of that Avicii, dare I say it,
Yeah.
R&B, or
Yeah.
a little bit of the kind of more
Yep.
future-based, future house kind of production styles where they have a choppy saw. And
Yep.
I just thought it really fit into the style of the track and gave it a bit of a danceability.
Yep.
And then the lead, what's the lead? So you can see, so it's your main lead, but what I do is I often introduce the
Yeah, I
like
like to do that too. I've started to do that a bit with a few of my
and
songs.
that, and you can do it like even introduce uh, like that bit on its
Yep.
own, then you fill out the melody,
Yep.
and it helps so that your melody doesn't come out of nowhere and people
Yeah.
have heard something already. It's really subtle, but it's like the big sort of progressive producers do a lot of that. Like Lane 8 is obviously one
Yep.
that's really inspirational, and he always drops little bits of elements in throughout the track,
Yep.
and you'll find that there's some delay that comes on.
Okay.
So I mix it up a little bit.
Yep.
And then you'll in the break, it'll probably have delay and reverb. Yeah. So that really sometimes people, yeah, a lot of you feel like you have to make loads of melodic changes to get melody, but actually just automating a bit of delay
Yep.
changes the whole melody, and that's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
love doing.
Cool.
And then this is one of the things that I felt. I felt the synth line of everything was great, but it was missing some high frequency
Yeah.
and some crispiness. And this,
Yeah.
if I show,
I loved this element that you had coming in.
if you see the serum preset, it has something. It has like some automation on moderate on mod channels, which
Right.
allows you to change the vibe. So there's a pitch up layer. So I pitch it up pre-drop, and then it goes. There's a
Yep.
distortion layer, and there's a nice background. So those combination of automations basically
Yep.
mean this element changes. You can hear it's completely changing
Yeah.
based on
Yeah.
automations. There's literally no change to a few of the notes, maybe a little bit, but it's all about just using a modulation of the theorem just to give it a different.
Wow.
And that's it. You can see like that creates the same melody creates a bit of nicer variety, and it sits just in the top layer
Yep.
because the vocals are present, but they're not full on. So this has to carry the track.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then the ARP is, I think, I think I don't use. I've never done this actually. I've never used. I'm new to Ableton, so I
Yep.
used FL Studio before, and I've never used the ARP function. So I
Right.
literally just kept yours. But
Right.
I think what I would have done, because what I probably would have done is, yeah. So I've added. What I've done is, oh, it's not playing. Sorry. And the mixdown file, it's better, but I added full reverb coming in later. But the
Yep.
secret that what I did with the ARP is I added a delay on a I called it out as a specific delay. Which delay is it? C delay. So I
Yep.
did a
That's
separate
there.
third channel
Yep.
with just a very simple delay, and you'll find as well the side chaining is full on. That's a full on side chain plugin.
Right.
So that's creating the pumping,
Yep.
uh, and it ticks along. And this ARP, I think, gives it a lovely rhythm.
Mm.
That the ARP delay gives it a lovely rhythm. So there you go. I think that's the meat of it.
That's awesome.
And you can see that delay coming off in the,
Yep.
and then let's have a quick look at what else I've done. Oh, we haven't talked about the vocals. Sorry. So the vocals are pretty much exactly the same.
Remember what is lost and what is mine.
But then what I did was,
So you like dropped it down 12 semitones just to
yeah,
get
that's
that
just
depth.
literally, yeah, a copy of the vocal. And I had
Yep.
lots of fun with this. And I actually did, do you know, I did this in the production file and not will tell me
Right.
off. I did it literally in this production file. So actually, when you look at my later versions of the file,
Yep.
it's all chopped up there, and I've just bounced it back into the production.
Right.
So you can't see how I did it. But one of the things I wanted to just show you quickly was now this creates a nice. I wanted something like I like sometimes every bar to have a like a vocal or a hook.
Yep.
Um, if you listen to it in its own on its own, that is remember from the main vocal. That's the
Yep.
what, and I've chopped it. So that's actually I've just basically chopped out the main vocal and created a little vocal shot,
Yep.
and that settles. I think it offsets with a one that I like to use from a.
Yep.
So it creates that alternate kind of momentum.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then what else? And then the vocal talk is exactly as it is
Talk to me.
later in the track.
Yep.
Didn't do anything with it. Just left it exactly. I think it's positioned pretty much
Talk to
exactly where
me.
you had it. So
Yep.
um, what else have I got? Just the I added I generally just added some claps and some impacts.
Yep.
We don't have to go through all this, but those are. I just add some supportive elements
Yep.
to the track, and actually, when you listen to them, I think I've added some waves. I
Yep.
think they went well with the thunder.
Yep.
Add a little bit more background, and that waves are carrying through the main break section
Yep.
and the intro. So I do a lot of these will be, they'll be wider, they'll be side chained, or
Yep.
just basically play with those, and I try to make that as subtle as possible, really.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's the bulk of it. If I missed anything,
Man, that's awesome. Awesome.